Alright, welcome to another budget build. Today we're checking out the astonishing Ant-Man. First things first, let's take a look at the commander. The commander is actually pretty interesting. It's a 2-mana 1/1 human scientist hero with whenever you draw a card, put a 1/1 counter on the astonishing Ant-Man. It also has 2 and a green tap, remove all counters from Ant-Man, and create that many 1/1 green insects. So obviously the goal of the deck is going to be to put as many 1/1 counters on him and draw as many cards as possible. And where else to start but the mana? First things first, we got Wild Growth, which is an aura that enchants a land, and whenever it becomes tapped, we add an additional green. We also have Llanowar Elves, which is a very iconic turn 1 mana dork, as well as Elvish Mystic, which is basically the same thing. We also have Explore that lets us play an additional land and draw a card, as well as Growth Spire, which draws a card and puts a land into play. Shared Roots and Rampant Growth, which will search for a basic and put it into play tapped. Farseek is also a great 2-mana ramp piece. It'll get us anything except a forest, which if we're running duels, we can grab a dual island forest. We're not running any in this build because of budget restrictions, but it can still grab an island. And coming in at the bottom, last but not least, we have Arcane Signet and Soul Ring, 2 must-have mana rocks. They come in every single precon, they go in every single deck, and this one is not an exception. Now our commander's going to need us to draw a lot of cards over the course of the game, so we're checking out some draw time cards. First we're going to start with some cantrips. Brainstorm is the best card in the deck, hands down. 1 mana, draw 3. Sure, we're putting the 2 back, but still it's a draw 3 for 1 mana. We also got Brain Surge, which is a draw 4, put 2 back. Consider will let us surveil and then draw. Frantic Search is a free draw 2, discard 2. Opt will also let us scry and then draw a single card. Tolarian Winds is a very interesting wheel where we discard all the cards in our hand and then draw that many cards, but that's for 2 mana, so if we have 7 cards or more in hand, we'll be able to wheel that many and draw that many, which is incredible for our commander. We also have Enter the Enigma. Since our commander is going to be pretty beefy, we want to be able to make him unblockable, which is pretty nice. We're also running Preordain, which is a 1 mana sorcery that lets us scry 2 and then draw, so we can set up our next move as well as draw into it, which puts a counter on our commander. Also an incredible card in our deck is Harmonized Trio, which can tap with 2 of our other creatures to give us Brainstorm, which I've already said is the best card in the deck, but now we have a repeatable one with Harmonized Trio. We also have the Unagi of Kyoshi Island, which will let us draw 2 whenever an opponent draws 2, so we'll be drawing passively over the game hopefully, as well as Tishana Voice of Thunder, which will draw us equal to the amount of creatures we have, and since we have so many ants, we'll basically just replace the counters we just removed from Ant-Man earlier. We're also running Vinwixt Verbose Host, which is a slow burn into a basically Teferi's Ageless Insight. We'll be able to draw 2 cards instead of 1 every time we draw a card. It's got Start Your Engine, so it'll take a few turns, but since we're going so wide with our ants, the chances of us hitting someone at some point to be able to increase that is almost guaranteed. We also got Super Intelligence, a new aura from Marvel, which I love adding new cards from the set of the commander into their decks. It just makes it feel a little more cohesive and flavorful. This is an aura that makes it so we draw an additional card in our upkeep, but Ant-Man we're going to have around hopefully the entire game, so it'll just attach onto him and we'll draw that additional card all the time. Rounding out the category, we have Whirlpool Rider, which is a creature that when it enters, we shuffle our hand into our library and draw that many cards, which we don't care that we're throwing them away because we're just going to draw a new grip, and also Ant-Man's going to get so much bigger. Now we know we're going to be putting a lot of counters on our commander, so let's put some counter synergies in the deck, starting with Forgotten Ancient, which will put a ton of counters on itself over the course of the round, and then on our turn we just move those to Ant-Man, and then we can remove those from Ant-Man to turn them into ants as well. We also have Thrumming-Bird, which will let us proliferate the counters on our commander, and we also have some counter doublers in the form of Vorel of the Hulklade and Zimone Paradox Sculptor, both creatures that tap to double the counters on 1 permanent we have, and because Astonishing Ant-Man is the only permanent we care about, we'll just double his counters all the time. Growth Curve essentially does the same thing, but it's a 2 mana sorcery. It'll put a counter on him and then double all the counters on him as well. We're also running Hardened Scales and Loading Zone, which because Astonishing Ant-Man is an individual trigger, we're going to be putting 2 counters on him whenever we draw a card instead. Duskshell Crawler is going to give him trample if we need. Pretty simple effect, but also I think it's pretty important for certain circumstances. And lastly, we have Simic Ascendancy, which whenever we put a counter on anything, we put a growth counter on this, and when there's 20 on this, we win the game. So even if Ant-Man dies and comes back, the counter tally keeps staying on this. So this is an alternate win con we can use if aggro doesn't seem like the option. Now we're gonna get a little boring and talk about the removal, I know. We'll start with We Say Thee Nay, which is another card from this set, which we've included in the last deck tech because it's just a flavorful counterspell. It's a superhero counterspell. We're also running some pretty generic removal spells across the board, starting with Beast Within, which is just a 3-mana destroy a permanent, except they make a 3/3 beast. We also have Heritage Reclamation, which will destroy an artifact or enchantment, or we can turn it into a cantrip. Nature's Claim, which destroys an artifact and enchantment. Second counter spell, it's Negate, which is pretty basic, everyone knows it, as well as Rapid Hybridization and Reality Shift, two pretty generic removal spells that we can run on the cheap with this budget deck. We also have a pretty funky counter spell, it's Repulsive Mutation, which lets us pay X to put X counters on target creature, then we counter a spell unless they pay mana equal to our greatest power, which we can just do X is 0 on this because Ant-Man's power is going to be so big they won't be able to pay it. We also have 2 board wipes in the form of Evacuation and Perplexing Test, which bounces creatures to their owner's hands, but Perplexing Test we can keep our ants around, which we can use doubly as a finisher. Now we can talk about some ant synergies. We got Uzuri Claw of Progress, which basically says whenever an ant enters, he gets an experience counter, and at combat we can put 1/1 counters equal to the experience counters onto target creature, which is Ant-Man. We also have Ivy Lane Denizen, which says whenever a green creature enters, we put a counter on something, so we'll gain all the counters we just paid back onto Ant-Man thanks to our ants entering. Master Biomancer is also an incredible include. It says whenever a creature enters, put a number of counters on it equal to this creature's power, and since its power is 2, we're going to make all of our ants into 3/3s, our ants. And in the event that we don't buff our ants, Tetsuo Umezawa Fugitive is a great include because it makes all of our ants unblockable as long as their power stays at 1. We also got 2 other cards that pair greatly with our commander, Biden of Thassa and Reconnaissance Mission, which with our ants, we might lose some along the way, but we'll draw so many cards we'll just get them back with Ant-Man. Combine Chrysalis is also an incredible card in this deck because for 2 mana we give all of our ants flying, and I bet you not all of our opponents have that many flying blockers. Now let's talk about Harmonized Crescendo, which is almost as good as a finisher because all of our ants turn into a draw that we can put on our commander. Keep Watch is also in that same vein because we can attack with all of our ants and then draw equal to the amount of attacking creatures, which is all of our ants. And we also have Distant Melody, which is a sorcerer that does the same effect virtually, except we don't have to attack with our ants. We're also running Shamanic Revelation, which we won't care about the life gain effect very much, but will draw equal to the amount of creatures we control, which is so many with our ants. And let's talk about 2 finishers before we close out this category. We have Overrun and Return of the Wild Speaker, which Return of the Wild Speaker we might be able to use to draw, but both of them are in here just to buff our ants. And our final category today is Loving Our Commander. We got Chasm Skulker to start, which doesn't synergize with our ant game plan, but whenever we draw, it gets a counter, and when it dies, we make that many tokens. Now we have a lot of go wide synergy and draw synergy and counter synergy, so Chasm Skulker fits right in. But also consider Experimental Crotch, which can steal our commander's tap effect, which can be good in some cases, though it probably won't have many counters on it, but can also put counters on other things by tapping itself. Now I know it's a little above mana cost for what we're trying to do with it, but it's incredible to meet both of those goals. I also try to stay away from Panharmonicon effects in these deck techs, but Krang the All-Powerful is an incredible include. Since drawing triggers happen in additional time, Ant-Man will get 2 counters on him for each card we draw as well. Prime Speaker Zagana is also an incredible include. We don't have to linger too much on this one, it just draws us card equal to our greatest power basically, and it rounds its power up to that power as well. And if we have the ability to buff our commander back up and tap him again, we also got Shore Up, which is a protection spell first, but an untapper second. Alongside that, we also have Snakeskin Veil, which is a great protection piece to keep our commander alive. Also drawing a ton of cards, we got Spry and Mighty, which we choose an ant and our huge Ant-Man and draw that many cards. Oh my god, it's incredible. And the best finisher in our deck by far is Overwhelming Stampede, which since Ant-Man is say 15-15 and we have like 10 ants in play, let's give all of our ants 15-15 and trample until end of turn. So powerful. And as previously stated, we have no dual lands in the deck or non-basics for the sake of budgetary reasons, but we don't need them because we're drawing so many cards we're going to hit our land drops every single turn. So that's about it. Thank you for watching. Decklist is in the description if you want to check it out, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye!